All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about something pretty wild. The idea of taking a very old, very physical asset, rough diamonds, and plugging them straight into the super fast digital world of crypto. We're going to break down how a project called KimberLite is trying to do just that. This whole thing really gets at a core problem in finance. On one hand, you've got digital assets. They're exciting, they're innovative, but man, can they be volatile. On the other hand, you have physical assets, things like gold, or in this case, diamonds, which have always been seen as these stable stores of value. So the big question is, can you mash them together and get the best of both worlds? And to figure that out, we're going to zero in on one specific asset class: rough, uncut diamonds. Now, we're not just talking about a niche market here. We're talking about a massive industry that's been historically, well, kind of locked up. Just look at that number for a second. $101 billion. Yeah, according to our sources, that's the ballpark value of the rough diamond market. It's this huge pool of wealth that most people, the average investor, have never really been able to get a piece of. And this is exactly why it's been called a locked market. Think about it. It's not like buying a stock on an app. It's historically been super hard to get into. The liquidity is low, which just means it's difficult to buy or sell quickly. You can't just trade diamonds at 3 in the morning. And the whole process can be really slow and, frankly, not very transparent. So how do you fix all that? Well, this is where the tech comes in to save the day, so to speak. The big idea here is something called tokenization. It's basically using blockchain technology to build a bridge from the digital world directly to this very physical, very traditional asset. So what even is RWA tokenization? RWA just stands for real-world asset. And the process is actually pretty simple in concept. You're creating a digital token. Think of it like a digital deed of ownership that lives on the blockchain. And that token represents your ownership of a real physical thing, like an uncut diamond sitting in a vault somewhere. Okay, so let's walk through how this actually works. First, a real physical diamond gets bought and put into a secure vault. Simple enough. Then its ownership gets digitized or tokenized using these things called smart contracts, which are basically secure, self-executing digital agreements. That process creates these new digital assets called e-diamonds, or even tiny fractional pieces called e-carats. And boom, the final step. These tokens can now be bought and sold on a marketplace. You've just turned a rock into a liquid digital asset. All right, the tech is cool, but what's in it for an investor, right? Why would you want to own one of these tokens? Beyond just the novelty, what's the actual financial proposition here? And here it is. This is the big headline number from the source material, 11.5%. This is the profit-sharing piece of the puzzle. The idea is that holders of the tokens get a share of the profits generated by all the activity in this ecosystem, like trading fees. But that profit sharing is just one part of the deal. You also get what the traditional market could never offer: seamless liquidity, the ability to buy and sell easily. You get 24/7 access, so you're not tied to old-school market hours. And this is a big one. You can trade full e-diamonds or just tiny fractions, these e-carats, which makes it way more accessible. This quote from our sources really hits the nail on the head. It perfectly describes who this is for. It's aimed at people who are already in crypto, the so-called crypto natives, but who are looking for ways to balance out all that wild volatility with something a little more stable. So when you boil it all down, the takeaway is pretty straightforward. What we're looking at here is a classic example of using new tech to crack open an old, exclusive, and pretty clunky market. Blockchain is being used as the key to unlock the value of rough diamonds for a whole new generation of investors who live and breathe digital. And that really leaves us with a mind-bending question at the end of all this. We've been talking about diamonds, sure, but this same technology, RWA tokenization, could theoretically be applied to, well, almost anything of value. If you can put a diamond on the blockchain, what's next? A skyscraper in Manhattan? A priceless piece of art? A vintage car collection? The possibilities are pretty staggering to think about.